Hey guys, welcome to another episode. Today, I want to do kind of a spin-off of the last episode that I did on pastors and make this one not just about Mark Driscoll or even the evangelical church at large, but I want to make this more about society and the fundamental problem that we have when it comes to placing people up on a pedestal, be it, your pastors or lawyers, doctors, politicians, president of the United States. We all have this fundamental problem where we place people up on such a high pedestal that even when they're wrong, we make excuses for them. But, when it comes to people that are on the lower end of the totem pole, it's really easy to just shoot those people down and stomp them below our feet because they're not quite where, society expects them to be, or, what society might consider a hero or a martyr or just somebody that knows everything. And, typically when people are sick, who do they talk to? They go to a doctor, right? Or when they're running into some legal trouble, you go to a lawyer, right? But not every doctor or every lawyer is knowledgeable or efficient enough to really change the trajectory of whatever problems you might be facing. Because again, they're not superheroes. They're not just this, this greater being that levitates above everybody else and they know everything and you don't know jack shit and they're above it all. They're the kings and queens and you are just the shit below their feet. I mean some of them are really good. Some of them do know what they talk about. But I think we've gotten to this point in our society where, we tend to think that people that are in high leadership positions or people that are just in a really good position in general, where, they're changing people's lives, they're making a lot of money, they might have a house, they might be paying a mortgage, they might be making anywhere from 6 figures to the lower 7 figures, or, whatever society might deem a person of interest or somebody who is very valuable in society's eyes. I think that's become a huge problem in our society because what it does is it forces us to be weak and codependent on people that we would consider to be highly skilled or know everything. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and talk about Mark Driscoll, because in the evangelical community, he's at the top of the food chain right now. There was a period of time 10 years ago where, because he got fired from his old church, he had this fall from grace and, he just kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. But now he's back, and for whatever reason, he's relevant in 2024, almost 2025, which doesn't make any sense to me because our society is literally falling apart. And what we need is we need some kind of middle ground. We don't need we don't need an extreme right. We don't need an extreme left. We don't need religious versus just not believing in anything or claiming that, we all came from nothing. It's like you're either here or you're here. And Mark Driscoll falls under one of those extremes. And, if for those of you that are familiar with Mark Driscoll, I think that he leans more on the evangelical side, but you can tell just based off of some of the videos that he posts or what he preaches about, he's definitely more fundamentalist, legalist pastor. Everything has to be a certain way. You have to, if you're a man, I mean, he does. He is a little bit of a misogynist. He does talk shit about women occasionally. He does call, women that don't fall under the Christian criteria, Jezebel. They have the Jezebel spirit. But he mostly shits on other men. And if you're a man like me who is over 30 years old, is not in a relationship on paper, is kind of, I mean, I don't really consider myself really anything. I don't consider myself single. I don't consider myself a bachelor. I don't consider obviously I'm not married. But I just think it's ridiculous. It kind of goes back to this whole idea of titles and labels, and just because you're single, according to the IRS, that somehow means that you're worthless, or that you would just not be a good relationship material, or that you need to grow up. If you're a man over 30 years old who is not married in the government's eyes and doesn't have any kids, you are on Mark Driscoll's shit list. Mark Driscoll doesn't like you if you fall into that category, and I fall into that category. So let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit more. Mark Driscoll, I think this was a little over 10 years ago, got shit canned from his old church, Mars Hill, because several people came out. This isn't one or two people or three people or four people. This is almost everybody on the elder board coming out with these accusations against him, that he was abusive, that he was sometimes physically abusive towards his employees. And, when that took place, he just up and left. He just went into hiding. He never, a lot of Christians like to say that, he didn't repent. I don't really like that word. I kind of feel like it's a little too religious-y. So I'm going to say just never apologized. He never owned up or apologized for any of his abusive behavior. And he just up and left town. I think he was out of work for like a couple years, but then he started his own church in Scottsdale, Arizona. And for whatever reason, people in the evangelical community gravitate towards this dude. And, I think it's because things are just getting so weird, so out of touch, and just so bizarre that people need some semblance of normalcy. And what used to be normal to us was that you followed Christian principles. You got married at a certain age. You went to work. You worked any job that was available, and you worked that job multiple hours a week. You slaved away. You're, you know, you're working for the man, and you squeeze out 4, 5, 6 kids. That used to be the norm 60 or 70 years ago, and people are, some people are trying to go back to that, which isn't going to happen. For those of you that that are wondering if that's ever going to come back, it's not. Especially not in this economy. Are you kidding me? If on the off chance that you are in a situation where you're going to propose to somebody and marry them and have kids with them, both parents have to work. I mean, it's just as simple. I mean, unless you live in Alabama or Montana, for the majority of this country, both parents have to work. And even that's not enough. Even off of both incomes, people are having a really hard time getting by and supporting their families. And, even with people that aren't married, that don't have any obligations to anybody, that are solely responsible for themselves, it's even a really hard time for those people, me included. So, but, I think that this whole Mark Driscoll, celebrity pastor epidemic that's taking place, with your John MacArthur's, your John Piper's, your Steven Anderson, which I'm going to get to him another day. I'm going to do another video on Steven Anderson because apparently his adult kids won't talk to him anymore and want nothing to do with him. I wonder why. So we're going to get to that another day. But, going back to Driscoll, I just think the reason why so many people, I want to say it's more women than men, because he hates men. Let's be honest. He hates people like me, and I speak the truth. I say whatever I think needs to be said, and I go against the grain, and I don't really affiliate with any religion, be it Christianity, or even New Age spirituality. I just consider myself to be a very spiritual person. I have a really close connection to God and to Jesus, and there's really, nothing that I think is necessary on my part other than that. I'm just a very spiritual person. People like him, or even just people in the evangelical community in general, have this serious problem with that, because it goes against what they've been taught their whole life, and it goes against, they're just narrow-minded, very, very jaded way of looking at the world. But I think people are gravitating more towards people like him because people are desperate. People are just always, because people are just so stuck in their fear-based ego. They're just always like looking for answers, and they just need, they just need a solid rock to be able to stand on during these weird, tough times. So that is my episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it brought value. If it did, share it with your friends and your family. But like I always say, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. I love you, and I will talk to you again soon.